What's up, boys? Just wanted to make a quick guide for Crystals 1. Alright, so you can see that the bubbled players are supports, the binded players are DPS. You can tell by the blue little bubble icons next to our names. We're going to be bubbled, and the yellow foot icons, that means you're going to be binded to the ground, and it stacks. So, since it's that means bubbled players always go to 2s, and since it stacks, that means the DPS, the binded players, are going to 1s. So I wait for the tides to go out. I'm going to find 2. Alright, I see 2. I go there, and I start figuring out what the hell is going on. So I look at the way the tide's flowing. The tide is flowing clockwise, so I can see where I'm going to get pushed. Now I need to figure out which 2 crystals are going to get pushed with me. So I look, and I see that if I follow the flow, those 2 crystals are going to be the ones that get pushed into my eventual destination quadrant at the southwest. The orange crystal is on a 1, so it'll flow into the northwest, and then the 2 will push me and the 2 crystals to the southwest. So now I got to figure out where I want to stand here in order to solve this mechanic. So the big thing that you want to do is you want to pretend, well, like when you're solving, you want to pretend that the crystals that you care about are actually in your quadrant when you're solving for them, because eventually they will be. And so if I treat them as though they're in my quadrant, the orange crystal is going to be in that relative position, and the blue crystal is going to be in that relative position, because their positions, like, you know, bottom left, top right, top left, bottom right, those relative positions stay the same. So now I'm thinking in my head, okay, the blue crystal's facing west-east, so I got to be on the southern rank, and that orange crystal is facing north-south, so I got to be to the west. So I just find that square, and then boom. So as you can see, I can treat the crystals as though they're in my quadrant because, you know, they will be in my quadrant. And the dodge, and solving that is the same whether you're a bubbled player or a binded player. Because, for example, Jouet here would have been looking at the same 2 crystals as me, and he would have done and put them in his quadrant as well in his head, because they would have ended up in his quadrant eventually. So, simple as that. Solving that, or for stacks, solving is the same whether you're a binded player or a bubbled player. Now here's the harder pattern if it's spread. If you're a bubbled player when it's spread, you solve it the exact same way. You're still looking at 2 crystals, and you still just, you know, figure out, like, you go to a 2 and you figure out, you pretend your 2 crystals are going to get pushed into the quadrant with you. But if you're a binded player, it's a little tricky. So I'm binded. That means since it spreads, everyone goes to 1, or sorry, everyone goes to 2s, the 2 quadrant. So I find 2 quadrant immediately. I find the flow. It's clockwise. And now here's the tricky part. I need to figure out, I need to look at all 4 crystals to figure out which ones are actually going to be threats to me. So to start, you start by looking at the 1 quadrant. And then you look at the 2 quadrant that it flows into. And then you look at the quadrant that flows into. So I start by looking at the north, just because, you know, I'm a north player. And I look at which of these 2 crystals will actually pose a threat to me. And since these 2 crystals are going to get pushed to the since the 2 northern crystals are going to get pushed to the southwest, I only need to care about the one that looks north-south. So I see, all right, which one of these is north-south? And I see, okay, it's that guy. So I can pretend that that guy is in my square, because it's going to hit north-south. So I adjust, and now I need to look at the southern crystals here. So I look at the 1 flowing into the 2, and I got to see, all right, those are going to end up to the northeast. Which one of those crystals is facing west-east? So I look, and I see, all right, it's that crystal there facing west-east. And so I can pretend it's in my relative corner as well, and I move and adjust because it's going to cleave the northern part of my quadrant. So I adjust, I post up, I get some uptime, the crystals move, And as you can see, those were the two crystals I needed to worry about. That one facing north-south, and there, sorry, just the one facing north-south and the one facing west-east. I didn't need to care about the other two. So if you're binded with a spread, you need to look quickly at each pair and figure out which one actually matters. It's a little tricky for sure, but it's doable. Now note, Rihanna and I were standing in the same tile here. That is entirely coincidence. He might have been standing in a different tile and got knocked away to the different quadrant and been safe. It's just totally up to chance where the safe spots are. Don't look at the other guy to figure out where your safe spot is, because it may not be there. And yeah, that is Crystals 1.